Hey everyone, this is Disc Junkie and welcome back to Secondhand Sickness. So today I'm back at the carboot sale and struck by the fact that there is a completely random car just left parked in the most stupid way possible. No idea what's going on here. This car was just here when I came. Maybe it's broken, I have no idea. But regardless of which, I did find a good parking space. So yeah, I'm just gonna get into checking out the garbage sale and then we're gonna go through the finds. So just stay tuned. Alright, so I am done for the day and weather's been pretty optimal, but not a whole lot of finds, but I did score one thing which I'm really happy about. And yeah, the car is still parked in a very weird spot. So, well, regardless of which, I'm just gonna drive back and well, I'm just gonna go through the stuff and see what you think. Alright, so I'm back at the table and I've actually got quite a bit of space today. I've essentially moved my tripod a bit just so I can get some more sort of reviewing space, because I've actually got a couple of really big items and I thought we would start with one of the least interesting ones, which is pretty much just this really chunky big plastic tray. I can hardly fit this in frame. And I know this is not too interesting, but I'm going to explain why I essentially bought this. The thing is that we've actually been redecorating our laundry room since we moved in. And this is, something you might remember from some of the old videos. We essentially have this laundry room, which is very much a 70s vibe. And it's got these really bright sort of mustard, yellow, orange type colors on these sort of tapestries and all of the doors for like the, closets and stuff like that. So we've actually been trying to redecorate this with some variety of just sort of yellow details and stuff. And we decided to pick up a bunch of these sort of plastic, what do you call this? Just like drink boxes. Usually you'll have these like with beer bottles, maybe like 70s, 80s. They used to use a lot of these in sort of retail stores where you will, sell bottles of beer or bottles of soda. And so a lot of people use these types of boxes for vinyl records, very popular, sort of stack them up in, but we decided to use them for some other stuff, just like, it's like, keeping some socks in here and, cleaning supplies and whatnot. So yeah, we just thought that they were really nice, sort of industrial look to just decorate with and just keep some of this tones of the rest of the room. So I actually think that this is actually a pretty good fit as far as the tone. It seemed like it's, pretty much a perfect match. So yeah, maybe I'll just put this into one of the let's try this in one of the shelves. I know it's a bit too big, so it will probably poke out a bit in this classic Expedition. Oh, it actually goes pretty nicely in there. Very much, on the edge. I mean, depending on how we want it to look. But I mean, I can keep this wherever. I can just keep this on a table at a different part of the laundry room, and I'm sure it will fit in there. But as you can see, we put a variety of sort of knickknacks that we find in carboot sales. Like this was also a carboot sale find. And this, which I think is like an old, just like a plastic tray for like cutlery, like forks, knives and stuff. And we decided to actually stack a bottle of Cokes in there because it just fitted really nicely. And yeah, so yeah, this was a bit of a ramble, but I just wanted to show you why this particular color was of interest to me and what we were essentially doing with it. But now let's get back to the rest of the video. And so with this out of the way, I am just going to proceed by looking at the main find of the day. And this is essentially what I'm going to be focusing on for the rest of the video, because this is, well, it's pretty much one find, but it's sort of like a bundle, I suppose. And this is also a fairly big item, which I thought was kind of a nice price, and it's fairly heavy. bizarro box, which is actually pretty nice to look at on its own. Now, I'm not gonna tilt this over yet. I'm gonna show you the box in a bit, but I don't really want the contents to be jumbled around, because in here is actually a film projector. So I'm going to pop the locks up just like so. And I don't know if this has keys to it, but I'm gonna move it to the side, and I'm just gonna show you everything. Just, you know, sort of take one thing at a time, because there is actually a bit of stuff in here. So I'm gonna put this off to the side for now, because I can't really keep it in frame and open it up because the lid is kind of big. So let me just go ahead and try to position this. Okay, so opening this up, I'm just going to bring out a bunch of stuff here, because this is an 8mm projector. We got an Abbott and Costello Super 8. This is from Castle Films. And yeah, we can also talk about the price. The thing is that this whole bundle was priced at 350 Swedish crowns. That's roughly 35 euro. She said that she had bought this camera for 50 euro originally. And I mean, yeah, I don't really care. It's quite possible that it's worth that, but it's not really worth that to me. So it seemed like she really wanted to get rid of this, and I was sort of asking her, like, so what do you want for this? And she's like, well, you know, I bought it for 50 euro, and you know, I've had it priced for 35 euro, but no one's really bought it, so, you know, you can have it for 10 euro. And to me, 10 euro, I mean, I'm not really in the market for another projector, but I thought it was actually quite a nice looking projector, not a model I've seen, and it did come with a couple of movies. So, I mean, for that price, I think 10 euro is an absolute bargain. So we are going to get back to the rest of the stuff, but first thing in the box was this, which is a Super 8 release of Abbott and Costello. And so I don't know if the reels are accurate, but I'm going to assume it's, you know, the right reels. So that is the first part of this bundle. Next up was another Abbott and Costello film. This is an empty box, but there is a reel, an unlabeled reel, slightly cracked, which was in the same case. And I'm not sure if this has a visible title on it. Hard to tell. I don't know. We might check that, but presumably this might be the proper reel for the second film. And if it is, then we also have a second Abbott and Costello movie, which is called Fun on the Run. And oh, actually, maybe that's what that actually said. Let's see. Yeah, it does. Okay, so I just noticed the title is essentially printed. I don't know if you can make this out, but it does actually say Fun on the Run right here. I don't know if you can focus on that, but yeah, I did notice that the title is actually printed, so this is definitely the right reel for that. Okay, so then we got a second complete film on Super 8. So that's pretty fun. I'm not like a, you know, avid, Abbott and Costello fan. Don't really know if I care for them at all, but I mean, they are classic films, obviously, and I really, I like the box art. It's fun, and like, it was super cheap, so I'm definitely happy about picking this up for 10 euro for the whole bundle. So that's the second film. Next up, we do have this, which I haven't really inspected. This is just like a metal case. I, might guess that this is, maybe this is the take-up reels for the actual camera. Let's see if we can open this up. Wasn't sure if this was a, yeah, this is most likely the original take-up reel. So that's pretty nice. Got a nice vintage metal reel here. So it only had the one. Feels like there might be space enough for two in here, but normally you would just have a single take-up reel, and then on the other, spool, you're gonna put the actual movie. So then you're gonna, every movie comes with its own reel, usually. So then you don't really need a secondary reel, you just need the take-up reel. So that's good. Then we might actually have a complete projector. So let's just move that out of the way. This is labeled as brand called Palliard. There is the logo in case you want to focus on that. So let's see if there was something. Oh, there actually is a couple more movies in here. It's some of the smaller ones. So here is a Chaplin film. Not sure if it has a title. Here's essentially just a listing of a variety of stuff. So here we got like Charlie Chaplin, Laurel Hardy, Buster Keaton. So this seems to be just selections from the series. So here we have, so this says Chaplin, and then it says Swedish for the Projector. I'm not really familiar with what that is, but this is number 525. It's an 8mm presentation, and yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Someone wrote Chaplin on, which is a bit of a shame, since we can marker there, but either way, I mean, don't mind this for the price I paid. And we also have a second one, which is actually not a Chaplin film. Okay, so this is actually a Harold and Lloyd pick. So obviously it's a generic cover, they all look the same, but this label says Harold Lloyd, Harold at the Casino, number 613, 8mm. So yeah, the box art is obviously the same. And, you know, so not too interesting. I mean, I would prefer it if the box art was exclusive to each title, but here it's essentially just generic. But then again, I don't mind it. You know, good deal either way. Okay, so I think that's all of the movies that were included. And now let's just go ahead and move some of this stuff to the side so we can take a bit of a closer look at the actual projector. Just hoping that I've planned for this, that I have enough space. Start off by just taking out the power cord, which came with it, and that's good because it's a bit of an odd power cord, to be honest. I don't think I really have another projector which has this particular type of connector, so that's good that this was included. On the other side, you got your typical standard European grounded connector, which is pretty modern, so that's good. I assume this is an original one. It does look fairly vintage, but it still works in the modern day power outlets that we have, so that's good. Okay, there is some other stuff in here. I'm not really sure what this is. So here we got a cardboard tube. Oh, so this is, yeah, this is some sort of lubrication bottle, presumably for the projector. Not really sure exactly what's in there, but kind of interesting to see that that was included. So yeah, okay, let's just, you know, get the projector out of here. Okay, it's a fairly compact one, but this, you know, still has some weight to it. And so let's see, here is the projector. Gonna see if we can display this properly. So let's see, it is branded with Palliard, same as the metal case there, so definitely the same brand. And then the you know, reel is probably the original take-up reel, so that's nice. But I'm gonna flip this over to show you from the side. You can see what it looks like. And I don't know, I just think this is a beautiful looking machine. She did say that it should work, did work sort of last time, you know, like what most people say. It does have these sort of retractable feet. You can sort of manually adjust them to get the proper height or the angle you want. But yeah, I'm very curious to see if this does power on. But let me just go ahead and turn it around a little bit so you can get a bit of a look at the various angles. I'm not really sure if I might make a reconnected episode about this one eventually, but for the time being, I just wanted to show you. God, now I'm getting some dirt on my table here, which I really don't want. I don't want to dirty up this backdrop because it tends to be difficult to clean. Okay, anyway, let's just place this here, see if I can figure out how this is supposed to work. So obviously this should fold out. Okay, is there a locking mechanism to this? I have no idea, because this seems to be really stuck there, and this is obviously an arm that should move. Okay. How do you do this? Is there a... Can't really see any kind of lock. Are you supposed to push it together, pull it apart? Or is it just really stuck there? Okay, feels like I should actually need a instructions manual. Oh, and there is actually an instructions manual. So quite a nice art. Is there... Oh, here is actually an international or English version. So I'm just gonna look at this briefly. Okay, so I'm gonna start off with just plugging this in to see if it lights up. So give me a moment to do that. This has actually got a very lengthy cord, which is a plus. Much longer cord than I'm used to with these old machines. So let's plug that in. So far so good. Let's see if we can figure out the power. Here's a stop function. Ah! Okay, so we got power and movement, but it does sound a bit weird. I also noticed that there is a secondary sort of drive belt. Well, it's not really a belt, but it's a driving chain. So not sure if this should be... Assuming this should be positioned once the arm is open up. So maybe I shouldn't actually be doing this. I'm just curious if... Okay, so it's got a speed control. I'm not seeing any light, but maybe that's... Oh, okay, so it does have a light. Great. So I'm just going to turn this off because I definitely need to raise this in order to test it. So, okay, let's just unplug this for the time being. And I'm going to try to just find some tools or something to see if I can actually make this, you know, just force this into the proper position. So give me a moment to get some tools. All right, so I've now used some tools on this, actually brought out a wrench, but I realized that it was just essentially me not knowing what I'm doing. So this is quite an easy operation. I was trying to push this together, but the thing is that if you push this from both sides, that's not going to do anything. I also tried the wrench like this, and it's like, it's completely stuck, nothing's happening. But it's actually quite simple. You see on the side here is these openings and these bolts. So what you really have to do is just push on the one side, and then there's like this plate that moves to the side, and then you can rotate it to bring it to a different position because, you know, it's locked by the bolt. So if I just push this, and then I can twist it. So yeah, there it locks into the second position. So with that figured out, let's just go ahead and plug this back in. I'm gonna see if this runs better the second time. So let's do this. Okay. Right, so maybe we should actually put the reel on there just to see what's going on. So go ahead and do this. So I'm probably gonna keep the reel over here, I imagine. So I'm gonna put that on. Is there a locking pin somewhere? Ah, there it is. There we go. Let's see if we power this on. Okay. Ah, that actually runs. Okay. I was a bit sort of concerned about the fact that it sort of, you know, doesn't feel like it has to power, like it's going, but that's essentially because you have a speed adjuster right here. So if I turn this on, it's run pretty, you know, pretty flawlessly, but if I turn this, I can actually bring the speed down, and then you get that sort of inconsistency at sort of like the bottom speed. So I don't know if that's a common issue, but I did a quick sort of search on this just to see, and it's essentially a Bolex Palard M8 projector. I think it's only made for single 8. I don't think this actually does take Super 8s, but not 100% sure. Either way, it's quite a good looking machine, I think. Here you can see what's going on. There's a spinning thingamajig there. These seem to be moving as they should. So I think this, you know, seems to be in pretty good working order. And if I turn it again, I will get the light right there. So the light also works. But yeah, I would like to make just a quick test with a reel. So what is this? Is this a Super 8 or single 8? See, what's this? Yeah, this was the cracked one. Maybe not test with that. Maybe test with one of the other ones. So let's see if we can test the other reel. Also realized that I'm a bit confused if this does have a... I don't know if this has a reverse function. If not, then it might be a bit annoying to go through the whole thing. But I mean, I would like to just test this quickly, so... also a bit confused as to where this goes. But... oh, actually, normally when you have one of these, you know, left over, it tends to be that this is only used for the reverse function. Like you have to thread this a certain way to make the projector go backwards. Okay. It's been a while since I did this. Okay, oh, what do we got in here? Wow! Check out that light! That is a crazy bulb in there. Absolutely beautiful bulb, I gotta say. Just look at that. That is some crazy vintage cyberpunk shit. Okay. Hopefully that doesn't break because it looks like a very expensive light. Okay. Now, maybe I'm just gonna pause this and look at some instructions. I don't know. Right, so we are loaded and I should be ready to project something. But in order to do that, I'm just gonna, you know, move the camera a bit so you can actually see the projected image. So give me a moment. Okay. Now we're gonna need some focus. Okay, that is a very small image. Let's just go ahead and zoom in on that. And maybe bring you up a bit. There we go, that does actually work. Sorry about the focus. See if we can fix that. I think that's as good as you're gonna get at this angle. But yeah, that's actually work. And I mean, to be honest, it's seems to be working pretty good. This is moving at the maximum speed right now, I think. As far as, you know, if the film is moving at the speed it should be moving, that's hard to say. I haven't really made any sort of tests in terms of looking at the mechanics inside. Maybe I should replace some drive belts or drive chains, not really sure if they're slipping. But I mean, overall, it does work, even if it's running at the wrong speed. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy with this. It does seem a bit slow, I gotta say. But regardless of which, I mean, come on. For €10 getting this whole bundle, I mean, how can you be upset with that? That is a bargain no matter how you look at it. Even if I'm just gonna keep this on display as a cool sort of piece on my shelf, that is an absolute steal. You gotta agree with me on that. So in any case, let me just go ahead and turn this off. And you know what? I actually realized that it's quite easy to rethread this. You essentially just have to open this up and sort of open up the little clasps there. Then you can move the film from here and essentially just run it like this. down to that spool, over to that spool, and back there. And then you essentially have a handle on the back, which means that you can manually just reverse this with ease as such. So yeah, just want to show you that it's actually quite easy to reverse it. Like that, I'm done. Okay, so here's a bit of an overview of all the stuff we got. We got the projector in here, which, oh, it's actually quite warm still from playing it. So that's just a general tip in case you are interested in old projectors. Be careful when using them, because a lot of the time there will be a lot of sort of old dust and stuff in the machine. And a lot of these machines will become very hot very fast. So always keep an eye out just to sort of avoid fire hazards and stuff like that. And you might want to open them up, sort of clean them from dust and stuff. But really happy about this. Really cool to see that it works. Then we got the 2 Abbott and Costello movies. We got Harold and Lloyd and the Chaplin film and a little lubrication bottle. Couple of instructions. And oh, also, here's one more thing. There was actually a small sort of cleaning, well, whatever you want to call this, like a pencil or a brush essentially. So I'm assuming this is for some part of the machine, I don't know where, but that was also in there. And that is pretty much it. Then we got the drive belt chain thing there, which I've just kept out of frame, but that is it. One more thing to show you. I'm actually going to just zoom out a bit using the expanded fisheye mode here and actually give you a brief look at the box, which is actually quite nice. Here you can see the interior. It has a bit of an old sort of, I don't know, sort of like a old tapestry or wallpaper type look to it. So just gonna close this up and show it a little bit more before we go. So this is what the box looks like in its entirety. Very nice sort of vintage carrying case style look. It's almost like a cardboard type quality to it, and it essentially just has this nice sort of pattern, which sort of looks like a fabric type pattern, but it is actually not like leather or anything. It's very much a hard sort of cardboard thing. So a little bit worried about carrying this, because I was afraid that, you know, because of the weight, that the locks were gonna pop open or something. And but it didn't. Actually, it did work. So, but sort of want to keep a hand underneath to make sure. Now, I didn't find any keys for it. That's the one sort of setback to buying this, because, you know, it should come with the original keys, I suppose, but it's not a big deal. And this is a bit too big to keep in frame, so I'm just gonna put that off to the side for now. And here's a bunch of dirt. Let's see if we can always try not to brush it off with my hands, because sometimes that will leave a dirty spot. But yeah, I'm just gonna zoom back in like so, and with that I think we are pretty much done. So this entire bundle was €10, which I think it's an absolute bargain. Really happy about this. Definitely a cool addition to my sort of retro tech collection, I suppose. But that's it. I want to say thank you very much for watching, and as usual, hope to see you all next time.